Agree to disagree appeared to be the tone in today's much-anticipated meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump. Carney attended the Oval Office with much of the Trump administration there and numerous reporters. When asked about Trump's desire to make Canada a 51st state, Canada's leader simply reiterated his stance that Canada isn't for sale.
On the 51st state, if Canadians don't want it, we can respect that.
Sure, I would. But this is not necessarily a one-day deal. This is over a period of time they have to make that decision. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may. Respectfully, Canadians' view on this is not going to change on the 51st state.
Jason Guidola joins us live with all the details tonight. What can you tell us, Jason?
Well, Manisa, the meeting between Carney and Trump was mainly civil. However, the U.S. president didn't indicate that he would drop his tariffs moving forward.
It would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
By no surprise, U.S. President Donald Trump stood pat on wanting Canada to be the 51st state. Subsequently, Prime Minister Mark Carney responded by saying that won't happen.
As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale. And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale.
Inside the Oval Office today was their first official face-off. Although it being a friendly and civil chat, both world leaders showed no signs of retreating from their major differences in an ongoing trade war.
Consider what Mr. Carney just said, that Canada is not for sale. Does this make the discussion a little more difficult to start on?
No, not at all. No, not at all. No, time will tell. It's only time.
In front of both administrations and an array of reporters, Trump did most of the talking, and Carney attempted to interject numerous times. The U.S. president did not back down on his tariffs against America's primary trade partner on industries, including auto, oil, electricity, and other goods.
Is there anything he could say to you in the course of your meetings with him today that would get you to lift tariffs on Canada?
No.
Why not?
Just the way it is.
No, this is a bigger discussion. There are much bigger forces involved, and this will take some time and some discussions, and that's why we're here.
Trump remains bullish, claiming that the U.S. doesn't need Canadian-made goods. Trump also took shots at Justin Trudeau and presumably Chrystia Freeland for how they handled the previous term and the current trade deal. Carney promises to address Canada's military, security, and the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement as a negotiating tool.
Certainly press the case in a number of areas where we think the tariff should be lifted. And specifically, I'll give an example with respect to the scourge of fentanyl and the considerable efforts that have been made at our border and behind the border in terms of raids as well.
Yeah, I think the way that Carney's approached it is the best that we can do, which is to tone him down. You know, he said we're not going to remove the tariffs on these things, but you can also see the things that he is tariffing and the things that he's not. And he's not tariffing the things that are going to really annoy people in the United States.
Back in Canada, Premier Doug Ford was pleased with the first meeting, but insists tariffs are hurting both nations.
He keeps talking about a trade deficit, but you take the oil away and they have a $50 billion surplus. I'd say if he doesn't want anything, I guess he doesn't want the potash that keeps his farmers going or the uranium to keep his nuclear energy facilities going.
Meanwhile, in Alberta, where a referendum could become a reality, Premier Danielle Smith turned to the Prime Minister to make good on trade relations.
I think that Prime Minister Carney has his work cut out for him, as we saw in the opening press conference with the President. And I'm really hopeful that behind closed doors they'll be able to have a meeting of the minds and come out with an agreement to restart the Canada-U.S. Free Trade Agreement.
In his post-meeting press conference outside the Canadian Embassy, Prime Minister Carney says he did have lunch with President Trump and more discussions are to be held moving forward. Carney will meet with Trump again at the next G7 summit next month. He'll also meet with the premiers tomorrow.